am extremely excited about tonight's webinar. I've had the pleasure of knowing Rene. I think we first met in 2017, late 2017 or 18.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, and have really enjoyed getting to know you over the last few years. I'm really excited about the topic of regulatory strategy and as its evolution in medtech and specifically with regulatory intelligence. So Rene, currently a regulatory affairs manager at Hologic, you're essentially helping implement their global regulatory policy and strategy for regulatory intelligence. And astrophysicist by training initially. I think there'll be some fun things that people will appreciate in terms of how your career changed. So we'll get into that, but started out in aerospace and then made the shift to medical device, has strong experience in the submission process, in international submissions, and then, have sort of changed your regulatory path in terms of your career. So welcome. I think people are going to get a lot of value out of this conversation and your insights.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. This is one of my favorite topics. I mean, I am a learner, a lifelong learner, I like to say, and it's, one of my interests, one of my many interests, but definitely the one that I've decided to do 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's definitely one of my favorite topics for sure.
Well, I was telling a couple of our team members when we first started to put the agenda together for this conversation, this is one of the things I love about talking to you, because the energy and the excitement of what you do comes out and it's contagious, right?
I can't help it. I love it.
One of the things that I love about regulatory too. So let's dive right in. So why don't we start out with just, defining regulatory intelligence? What does that mean?
Yeah. So I know a lot of people on this call probably are regulatory people, and you probably know, or at least are doing some sort of regulatory intelligence right now as part of your job. And really what that means is it's keeping up with all the changes that would impact your products or your industry or your jurisdictions that you market your product. And we know that those things change all the time. All the regulations, all the requirements, they're constantly changing. And how are you keeping up with those? So you're probably doing some of that right now, just as part of your daily job. But that's really what it is. It's just keeping up with that fire hose of information changes that are coming at you every day.
And then how you use that strategically?
Oh, so yeah, strategically. Well, I would say for one, it's a requirement. So if you are, a global company and you're marketing in Europe, I mean, it's definitely part of your quality management system. 1345 requires that you have regulatory strategy and that you have it in management review and keeping up with changes. Same thing with MDR. For EU, same thing. They have, you must have a regulatory strategy of how you're keeping up with all these changes and things. So that's one way you can use that as a strategy to help your company stay compliant. Another way that you can use it is by trying to influence policy and requirements, things like that. So there's kind of two sides of regulatory intelligence: the compliance side and the influence side, or the policy side, or trying to actually write the laws and regulations.
So I literally almost remember I remember the conversation that we had back in late 2018, I think. And you had made a comment at that time when we were talking about what you want to do in your career, right? What you want to do when you grow up, so to speak. And you said, well, hey, regulatory intelligence, if there were opportunities. And that was the first time that somebody had a conversation with me about that type of position. And I remember going, I don't really know what you're talking about, because I've never seen a position like that. I've never worked on one. I've never had a client say, hey, we're looking for this type of talent to do this type of role. So that was when it first, came to mind for me. And then starting to see more of it over the last year and a half. but maybe you can talk a little bit about those types of roles, and then how you have been able to transition into doing that at Hologic.
Sure. So I think what you said prompted me a memory that I have. I had the exact same reaction as you did. So when you first heard the term regulatory intelligence, you're like, what is this? I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, why would somebody invest in that? And I think I will go back to maybe 2015, I think, is probably the first time that I heard the term. And Linda Bowen is kind of the OG of regulatory intelligence. So she's been around for a while in the regulatory atmosphere here. And she talked about it at a RAPS convergence one year. And she talked about regulatory. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, what is this? This sounds cool. This sounds exciting. This sounds like right up my alley of something I want to do. And ever since then, it's like I caught this bug of like, oh, that sounds really great. Like, I want to do that. I did, I was doing regulatory submissions at the time, and I liked doing it. So don't get me wrong. Like, it's not bad to do regular submissions. It's just different. It's just different. And to me, it's more exciting to see all the new things and be kind of on the top of like what's going on, what's happening, what's new today, and being kind of the first person to read about it, the first person to analyze that, the first person to look into it, and the first person to tell somebody who cares, that this could really impact us and get their ear. So to me, that's just a really exciting part. So I'm sorry, the second part of your question was, how did I get into that? Is that what you asked? I think
so. That was great. How and I think one of the things that you've said to me previously is even that access to the leadership of the company, and how you can help give them the information that they need to be able to pivot and make decisions. So the second part of my question was, when you moved from radiation oncology, med tech was where you were at. When you moved to Hologic, you moved from, you were doing submissions and things like that. When you moved to Hologic, you moved to more of a supporting systems, right? And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you went from that to getting to move into this new department focused on regulatory affairs intelligence.
Well, it was something that I was really looking to do. I mean, when I spoke with my recruiters, when I was looking for a new position, I did talk to them about, these are the types of things that I want to do. Yes, I can do submissions. Yes, I can do these things, but wouldn't it be cool if I moved into more of a position where I was, doing maybe some regulatory intelligence or something? And so this position opened up at Hologic in Massachusetts, and a tiny part of my position was to try to start a regulatory intelligence program there. So that was really what kind of drew me in, because it was something, like I said, that I'd gotten a bug in for a while, and I was just like, this is something I really want to do. And hopefully I can, plant the seed, grow the thing so that it gets bigger and bigger and turns into a whole department. And here we are. So it worked. I started off three and a half years ago with just this, tiny little bit of a regulatory intelligence department. And it's really grown into a completely separate department instead of just like a fourth of somebody's job,
right,
that they're doing.
No, that's fantastic. Okay, before we get into sort of breaking down regulatory intelligence in terms of compliance versus policy, and maybe more about what your department is doing, your career path, I think, is really unique and intriguing. So maybe you could tell